Welcome to another Thursday night. A nice time. Play around with the blender.
Yep,
What
that's
are you
what
making
I
there,
do.
clown?
This was a corpulent man's face. That means fat. But it got away from me, so I'm going to restart it again.
How do you like Modeler? I've never played with the 3D aspect of this program.
It's why I got into it, because I thought I might have a little more luck with it. I think I'm right about that. I'm a very sketchy artist, and I mean, I had to learn that that was okay to do with line art anyway, because you just didn't learn to do line art based on the sketch you did. But like, I think, and therefore, I think my more instinctive knowledge of anatomy on a three-dimensional plane might help me learn it by trying to sketch with clay here over and over again. And there are other tools, but right now I'm really competent with draw, and so I haven't been using any of these other ones.
It's a really cool tool. It's very robust, and I love that it's open source. It does make... Open source stuff is weird, because... I mean, there is some quality of life stuff that you'll never get unless you wait for or become just a very devoted nerd with in-depth knowledge of, you know, how the program functions and how to make it function in the way that you want.
Well, I think to some degree you're going to have some super niche interest if you want, if you're going to get outside of what exists in an open source thing already, as long as you learn how to use GitHub. And I mean, I don't mean that to be condescending if you don't know how to use GitHub, because I only learned recently because I wanted something, and I don't even remember what. I'm sure it was a pirated piece of software. I like on the top right, you can see the compass. That's actually really helpful for me. And then there's the light source if I want to mess with it. Let's really flatten it up. Control, scroll. Nope, that's not right. Shift scroll. Fine, I'll just right click.
It's like for 2D animation, what I would really love, first off, to be able to export it as a GIF.
Right, yeah. I haven't used that tool almost at all. I've drawn a stick figure on it while perusing this tool. And, you know, like, well, but I've drawn like 3 identical ones to try to get them to move, you know. No, I'm now doing what I did when I learned how to work with clay, you see. I'm forming it.
Lost my place in this animation here. What's going on?
You're learning animation, though. That's terrifying to me. Because the thing I can't do, like, I mean, can't do, of course, but, you know, without getting into what I should be saying for a healthy lifestyle or whatever, the thing that I can't do is repeating, especially mirroring, like 2 eyes. I know it's like a common problem that people have, but it's what keeps me from like finishing projects or doing clean things. You know, I can sketch 2 eyes that look different and like leave it for quite a while, and I'm learning a lot of things still doing those sketches. But at some point, to really do line art, I will have to be able to get 2 pictures to look similar. And
yeah,
that's something I don't have any experience in doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at it either. No?
Luckily, it is just a mastering of basics. It's easy to tell you to start at drawing from reference and just accept that it will look silly and bad because it's not a stylized work you're like making to express yourself. You're very much, I mean, you still are, of course, always, just how you like a line to look really expresses stuff about people, but nonetheless, when you're just copying, I think you see a lot of more of that raw skill go into it. The raw fundamentals of it. Whereas a lot of people, and I don't mean it as a criticism at all, it's how lots of people come to D&D. I mentioned D&D because it's my life. But, you have actors in D&D, you have explorers in D&D, you have, not note takers, but the people who really want to know about the world, and the world building and the lore. And, there's all these different elements, and you really don't want all of one if you can help it. Though it's a very harmonious table, but it will be one type of game. And at that point, maybe consider switching systems. But I love 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons with my full heart. I've actually, I have zero qualms with it, other than one or two skills that I would add back if I was homebrewing with the basic rule set.
What would you want to add back?
Streetwise. I know investigation's part of Streetwise, but they also have investigation be looking for footprints, like a cop would or whatever. You know what I mean?
An active. I think they did try to broaden up the skills a little bit, because they got way too granular in 3.5.
Yeah, hey, some people would violently disagree with you. 3.5 is the God King of systems at the moment.
But, having row be subdivided into certain row classes.
Yeah.
And having the throw ability, rather than it being a general athletics thing. Which I guess I can see. It's the difference between a pitcher and just a strong guy throwing rock.
Yeah, and somebody who is throwing a living being that is trying to escape is also quite a different technique. They're super into you making very exactly the character. In 3.5, you are making sure that people see that he has, weathered skin on the picture from riding in the wagon all day. It's a lot more detailed. And whereas 4th edition was you are picking the preset paladin and then you can buy skins at the shop, Yeah. 5th edition is very much hey, this is imagine you could draw. Imagine your words drew anything you wanted. This is Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that's a great pitch, and I think it's one of the reasons I like it. Because it's just listen, anything you want to do, we already did it, but we'll make it even more good or specific later. Don't worry. I feel I feel good about the way they've always stressed that it should be up to what is enjoyable for your table, ultimately.
Right. But I can see the specificity of 3.5 being fun for flavor moments, but I think it adds a lot of mechanical onus on the DM of what they will or will not allow. Use rope is a skill you can take.
Yeah, you could not be a cowboy in systems without use rope. It would be much less fun.
Well, I think you'd be less special. Because I did want to, in 3.5, make a character based on Ollie from One Piece. The guy who uses, the rope weapons.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, that's the thing, you'd want 3.5 for that. That's why they did what they did. They had the name recognition, there were imitators now, so they went to, let's make this the tabletop role-playing game. That's why people like 3.5. It was everything. And so everything came from it. 3.5 was unleash the floodgates. Don't worry too much about what it works well with or doesn't work well with. We're selling these books for an enormously high price. So they just put stuff that works well together in one book. And there's just sort of I put my hand in front of my mouth. Just sort of an unspoken an unspoken agreement that like some of this is just gonna fuck with other of it. You know, it's modding your game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I do think use rope is one of the things I would add back. I always want to say performance, but they did add that.
I do love performance versus deception in 5e.
The thing is, I honestly think that interrogation should have been one instead of intimidation. No one almost ever uses intimidation for anything else. I mean, I guess you might want both. I don't know, or like a subclass, but like, no, because it doesn't need to be necessarily scary. What I mean is that it kind of needs to be social. I feel like what they're currently using investigation for. That's something I have a bone to pick with. Like, they're like, it's looking around a room, and also it is asking tons of people probing questions and getting away with it. And well, I think those are just not the same skill set, you know?
I've seen it used. I think some of the best uses of intimidation I've seen have been, like mid-combat.
That's true. I mean, honestly, my table rarely ever intimidates. That's super. I mean, you know who I play with. They're such kind gentlemen, every single one of them. It's a good table. I'm very blessed as a dungeon master, honestly, to have something so competent and available for me. It's really allowed me to flourish into the beautiful flower I am today.
Really nice to have, and I mean, it's a familiar table which allows for room to play.
It helps, but honestly, like, you have to create that space. Without us making a conscious effort, we never would have gotten to the point where we were role-playing with character voices and stuff, you know what I mean? We all had to learn to view it as a safe space to play, because if it's not, then we will not have the fun that we're trying to have.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to create that space, because, I mean, you can't just create it. You have to form the trust network required.
It's cultivation, and it's being a DM in the ways that people don't like to do it. I don't mean like in the manner, but I mean it's the parts that people hate of the job of DMing, such as it is. Because at some point you have to tell somebody, hey, I have to take away this synergy you thought worked. It does not work. And that's why it's so strong. Or like, listen, I know that everybody thought that was really funny, but actually, like, you need to give people space when they're having their scenes or whatever. Like, that you don't have to say it like a dick, but you have to say the dick thing, to make it good.
Right.
It's just it's social work. It's intimate social work, and I'm not like pretending sex work isn't a thing or whatever. Like I'm not like there are obviously similarities.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons is a lot like sex work.
Dungeons and Dragons prepared me for sex work.
They're basically the same thing.
No, but what I mean is that, like, you don't get to be yourself. A D&D, you don't show up as just yourself. You're not allowed to. Not if you want to have the table of your dreams. You have to create a space and talk to people openly and find out what works and what doesn't. Because people suggest, like, rules and stuff that turned their table around that would shatter some tables. Like somebody was saying that if you're sitting at the table, everything you say is considered in character. I'm like, I would get so much resentment for that. There's absolutely no way.
Oh no, that's
singing their
untenable.
Praises, but like, there's no way I don't get quite a bit of shit, and over time lose a lot of trust. I think, being like, oh, What's a cell phone, young witch? Take her to the dungeon. Like, there's a reason that's the stereotype on like a sitcom or something. It's dumb.
Yeah, I think that's a good part of character voices too, and a good way to encourage it is delineating between, what's said in game, what's said above table.
If you have the patience for it, the early McElroy D&D show is a really great example of the before and after of character voices, because they were not really enforcing it at first. Because it's kind of a thing you have to be like, you're not doing it right, and it's a hard role to want to jump into. And surprisingly, it was Justin who was like, hey, that's not a character's voice. Though knowing the guy better from watching tons of their shit, I imagine it's because it's like, I'm not going to be the only one doing a big character voice just because I care a little more than you.
That's part of it, but I think also because it is an audio medium, and
they all sound the same.
The people listening aren't watching their faces and everything, aren't getting the facial cues. I think it's a very important point to take, of what's actually said in character. The only way they have to denote that is through audio.
And I mean, funny enough, Critical Role has the opposite problem, where as their voice actors, they're just so prone to doing a voice and staying in it and playing around that they say tons of things that are objectively not canon all the time in their character voices, because they don't want to ever stop. And so they'll be like,
Scanlan and Grog always say everything like in character voice. Because Grog that's Travis Willingham, right?
Yes. And he mostly does. That's why he goes, I would like to rage. That's his catchphrase, because he would do it not in the story. It was not at all actually a diegetic thing. It was a fun little table thing like, hey, combat began!
And then it became a part of the show.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, you do feel that, I think, in the show. I don't... I thought the show was good, but I think that is something I didn't particularly care for, is the handling of that. Like, ultimately, you needed to set up and earn it a lot more than just putting him in the situation he would say it in a table where you're acknowledging the players. Because they're not acknowledging the players at all. And that's fine, but that is not a thing he would say. He doesn't need permission. A new player to D&D at first feels like he needs permission. I really liked Critical Role. I fall off of things and on things. It's that ADHD or whatever.
And so you'll use the series. TikTok psychology words. You'll hyperfixate, then kind of burn yourself out. But only ADHD people get to do
Well, if I think the problem ultimately is like you can't ask anyone in the United States to do anything other than self-diagnose and not gatekeep like entire movements and fields of psychology. So I mean, unless you're a piece of shit, self-diagnosis in the US is usually accepted, because like, do you have the $5,000 to see the one specialist that's going to see somebody over 30 to see if they have autism? If not, you don't have autism, and stop talking to me, not autist. Like I don't
fair.
like the vibe. But that's me, and that's coming from somebody who I don't know. There's definitely like a lot wrong with me. And I think there's a lot more of a spectrum to things. My therapist, I don't know if it's good advice or not, but she said to not worry, about whether the advice, if you come across advice you like, not to worry whether it's like for your diagnosis, and just hey, try that, and if it works, that should be fine. That should be all right. And if it starts doing weird stuff, you can figure out how to stop doing what worked. That's what you're doing anytime you mature, you are discarding old habits, and you're accruing new ones that work in your new situation with your new understanding.
Right. I think it was maybe part of a big shift in mental health awareness in the U.S. The labels are kind of a byproduct of that, but I mean, the mind is just so infinitely complex that, some people liked having the labels. They could be like, okay, this is what I have, and this is what, this is why these things happen, this is why my life is like this, or this is why I respond to my life in this manner. But then it became like a culture of having these titles.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that the way that people are treated within a community is honestly the way that ideally everyone, would be treated. But I do think, I'm trans now in a way that I super wasn't before. And it's so interesting to see, like, how different it feels to me to say, listen, like, you're not gonna get it. I can't remember what I said. I made a TikTok that was, it was a little bit dark, but I was saying, because that guy set himself on fire. I was saying that no trans people should do that, no matter how bad things get, because we're all supposed to live, remember? And that's like a trans thing, legitimately. And tons of people who have no idea, about like the community or whatever, come in and they're like, the fact that you even need to say that they shouldn't set themselves on fire. And it's like, dude, I want to set myself on fire. That's what I'm saying. Like, we all do. That's the point. And like, if you don't think that's saying, cool, we are all crazy, go back away, Like, right now, I am comfortable saying that I don't think the way things are sane,
Right.
So, if insane is different than that, then yes, absolutely, 100%. And yes, I want to make everybody I know insane with my mind
virus.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the issue with social media, especially the new format of social media, which is TikTok and every copycat therein. It just became the new breeding ground for what I guess has always happened on social media, is a bunch of people just hiding behind a modicum of anonymity and jumping on people for the most inane shit.
So yeah, what it comes down to, honestly, is that TikTok right now is 4chan, and it's only going to get worse, as only people that care enough to get on VPNs are going to be on TikTok soon. But regardless, I think the reason everybody's ripping off TikTok is just because TikTok had the guts to say, well, let's just whatever 100% use absolutely all of the data transparently. Let's not worry about scaring them off with how well we know what they've seen and what they've liked or disliked. I honestly think there's a brazenness to the design of TikTok that said, oh, here's another goth female mouthing the same words from the same audio clip because you didn't like that video, but you did watch it for 2 seconds. Like long than average. And so they keep giving you that because what they want is eyes on product. But I don't think algorithmic delivery of entertainment is in any way inherently harmful. I go all the way back to capitalism, which always seems like a scapegoat. But if you talk about the things that are a problem in any kind of transhumanist or even digital privacy way, it is because we set the system up to make money. I was saying it to Stabby earlier. Wait 1 second, sorry.
Wow, it's just getting permission to clear Stabby's name on this podcast.
Oh. No. I just hold on, something is playing in my ear now too. A storm is rolling in. I had a window open because my fan is loud, so I had it low. And so there was lightning, and then and then also my phone started playing because. And here's one of the ways I know that here's one of the reasons I feel, for example, comfortable self-diagnosing as ADHD. I have an earbud in under these headphones I'm using that I didn't remember was there, and I accidentally turned it on, turning the window off. And then I came back in here listening to Philosophy Tube and trying to explain to you everything that happened. Anyway, I was just saying that people villainize something that is being incentivized in the same way that people have been screaming for years is inherently harmful and even somewhat like erotive. What is the word? Corrosive. There it is. To like a person's humanity, even to incentivize only the increase of profit over time periods. Like we told the computer the only thing that matters is getting money. And like now we're mad that AI is doing things that aren't cuddly, and it's like, just stop telling it that all that matters is money. It will stop doing the things you're saying are bad and scary. Like even in AI, I feel. Well, I mean, not even in AI. I think that's the big one to go to. I think because it is often because people like it in general and want to defend it. It is. I mean, I think it's one of those things like saying objectively that, you know, Donald Trump is magnetic in some way. People watch him more attentively than most politicians, but it's in a similar way. It's like undeniable. Oh no, I goddamn blanked. It doesn't matter.
No, I get what you're trying to say. Like it's the. You can't fight it under the current like structure that we are under, because the structure is the root of the problem.
Oh yeah. That's all I'm saying is that, like, yeah, it's the machine. It's not the machine's fault that you tell it not to worry about whether people suffer when it does stuff. That's really what I'm getting at. But yeah, it can sound like a cop-out. That's all. I was just sort of addressing that. Yeah, I know it does, but maybe it is. But I feel like it's worth thinking about.
It is like it's. I don't know. I'm coming from a place of just being defeated by the whole system.
I know. It's hard. Believe me, this is what my mind's doing all day, every day. It's tiring. I get it. So don't worry about like my tendency to wax philosophical. We can move on to Naruto, and I will go just as hard.
And I didn't mean that as like a cutaway. I was trying to just state where my viewpoint of it is, and ultimately, I think fighting against AI, I mean, we're crabs in a bucket, and we shouldn't fall on each other. Now, am I gonna give money to any? Am I gonna give money to anybody using AI to generate images? No. Like, I will never do that. I mean, but
that's I don't know that I feel the same, just in terms of I don't think I can be so confident that I know what AI is going to be capable of producing. Right now it's not good. That was the main thing I kept saying to people when there was a lot of fear mongering and stuff. And I mean, certainly it's changing things, but again, I blame capitalism. Sorry, I always blank when I try to do this.
Yeah, it's a lot. You gotta, as I've said many times on this show, you gotta split your alar.
It's just that things are complicated, and I do think ultimately saying, hey, could gather this many gold Mario coins or die is a big part of every problem we have in this world. That's all. And I know that like people get tired of hearing it, but it does not get less true.
Absolutely. Especially when we're in late game, and a lot of the people who are new game plussing, you know, are in the same server as all of the first timers who downloaded WoW because they made it free for a weekend.
Oh, there's that big jaw I was looking for earlier.
Ooh, make it strong.
This looks like a Goomba from the live-action 90s movie.
You know what you're doing right now is you're floops foogling.
Yeah. That was my first thought when I was watching JJK, without saying any other spoilers. Like, early on, I was like, this madman!
Help us, save us!
Yeah, I don't know if you... Oh, yeah, you definitely did. You know, with, like, the first big guy, the first big villain.
I'm trying to remember. I never watched it. I read it, and then I stopped because...
He had big stitches. Like, he had stitches all over. He just wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. I know that it's most of the Yonko or whatever, the yokai, I mean, but... Or whatever.
I'd have to go back, honestly.
Evil spirit. It doesn't matter. He grabs people's souls and twists their bodies.
Oh, that sounds vaguely familiar.
He gets... It's the first person that the main character ever feels guilty about killing. Just, he grabbed somebody's soul and turned them into a goblin, and they were already going to die, but it made no difference to him that he had ended their life, because, you know, he has that specific creed of his. It was good. I thought that was quite good. But he did that, and that's that. I made the floop joke then. I just thought you'd appreciate it.
Yeah. I often think about Floop and his Fooglies, and also who, what, when, where, and why.
What, when, where, and why do I
Do I decide, and what do I intend to find this time? Jump around and bounce and bound!
I have never known. But well done. I'm usually the one that has the lyric sheet already in my brain. Haha, I gotcha. Not that I'm ascribing any of my own shittiness to you, but
that's just one that stuck around for some reason.
I mean, honestly, those were directed by Romero.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he's a good director.
Oh man!
Especially for big, loud, colorful, stuff. So it made sense he made a couple kids movies. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why Trejo's there too.
I haven't eaten McDonald's in probably a decade, if not more. But thinking about Spy Kids
makes you want McDonald's.
I would eat McDonald's if it came from a transmogrifier in a submarine.
I am going to make it my personal mission to slip McDonald's into you.
You're gonna give me a Mickey?
Drunk. Yeah, I'm gonna slip you a Mickey. That's right. You are going to be so drunk and incapable of consent. And I'm gonna be like, "Hey, French fry, Travis."
No, I recognize that soggy shape anywhere.
Well, yeah, soggy chips are bad no matter where you get them.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Okay. I can actually grab
Stabby's little tip.
The silhouette. Oh no! I didn't have chat open at all. I meant to.
Stabby said,
I have brain disease. What's up?
Press Control 1. It's subdivide and it can help you smooth everything out.
Whoa! Thank you.
That made me believe in mirroring. I don't know what that refers to. Or I guess it just de-polygons a lot of the surfaces you're on.
It makes the polygons much smaller. You can see them sort of in the light here. Like an orange peel.
That thing's never going to run on my Apple IIe.
Regal!
Was that your
Like-
Jinjo noise?
No, I was being Kazooie.
Ah,
Saying Regal! Regal!
where you go?
That's what she's saying when you jump.
I never knew.
Yeah, she's saying Breagle because that's the name of her species, and she's doing a Breagle jump. Hey, I'm making a doll head. It's pretty
hell
good. See that?
yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
It's been popped off. You can turn that into a mutant toy if you want.
I will. What's
And then you can give it to your little sister, Sally.
Oh, okay. No, Sally was the doll. Sorry.
Oh,
Sally's all better
my
now.
bad. My brother and I became obsessed with bashing our toys after that movie.
He was a pretty alright kid, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kid shit, honestly.
Oh my god, this rocks.
And he had a pretty good, I'd say his mom was pretty good. Gave him space to play. Maybe he could have used some more, heart-to-hearts, but...
Yeah, a little more. Obviously, he needed more oversight, and that ultimately, like, somebody should have said at a certain point, "Hey, man, you're breaking a lot of stuff." Like, because he didn't just customize them; he also took them out to the lawn and blew them up.
Yeah.
And at some point,
Well, I
it's
was
like, "Hey, man."
actively encouraged to blow stuff up by my dad.
Oh yeah. Well, your dad likes blowing stuff up, like, regardless of who's doing it, for the most part. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
without speaking ill of him, that is really all I can say for sure.
I mean, it was... We got into black powder bomb making and, fireworks and stuff and sparkler bombs. I mean, we had the space to do it, which was cool. But you'd never do it irresponsibly because he was a firefighter.
That's cool.
Although we did it very irresponsibly so many times.
Yeah, of course you did. I mean, doing it is not responsible inherently.
Yeah. I had a birthday party where one of my friends caught on fire.
My hair caught on fire when we did a bottle rocket bouquet at my friend's house. He had a nice, like, kid play place slide set where we would hide up in, like, the tower. It was like a castle tower and then slide down, classic thing, you know? And we threw them over, and one of the wicks fell out when we threw the little thing over, and it landed in my hair, and my hair caught fire.
Yeah, that'll happen. I should have had more hearing damage done as a child than I have had.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's really no way to say because I've only ever had one set of hearing in my life.
I have to grant the music guy Anthony Fantano, honestly, for me no longer blasting my ears. There was just so many years because it's just so viscerally satisfying.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Listen, no show's gonna be worth it when you're 40 and you don't hear music anymore over the ringing in your ears." He's like, "I know people are gonna make fun of you at shows, but etc. etc." And I thought, you know what, that's a good point. I'm not even going to shows, so I can absolutely stop putting my earbuds on full blast on the loudest songs I can find.
That's something I'd love to see in, like, this current generation of young music goers, is that earplugs have been fully adopted and encouraged.
Is
like,
that the case, or you would love to see it?
That is the case.
Oh, cool, awesome.
I'm really happy to see it.
Yeah.
Zoomers support ear health.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, they've heard the good shit, because for a while, the policy was to make sure kids didn't hear the bad shit that was, like, gonna mess them up.
Yeah.
And like now it's like they can only hear the worst stuff we used to allow. And I think honestly, just like I grew up going to church, and like if I was a Christian, I'd still have. If I'd stayed Mormon, I think I still would have had to stop voting Republican at some point, just because Jesus didn't want lots of suffering and discrimination.
Right.
He never
So what
explicitly
would Joseph
said,
Smith want?
we need to target the 12-year-old pussy. Sorry.
Well, that's
Family
where sin is
show.
born.
No, trust me, he loved it. He's a real stand-up guy. Very funny man. That Joseph Smith. Funny like Bill Cosby was funny, you know?
You have to admit that album was fire, though. That Joseph Smith album.
When he dropped Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Had Matt and Trey produce.
I saw that live 2 weeks ago.
It's a good show.
Yeah. Saw it with my mom,
Oh, that's fun.
who is still actively a Christian. Less evangelical Bible thumping. Much more open-minded than days gone by, but she had no idea what the show was.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's gonna. They pull the South Park movie thing again, where it's all very cute and wholesome for a time. Even as a joke about how cute and wholesome it is able to distract people until Terrence and Phillip get on screen, you know?
Yeah.
On screen at the stream because of the times in which we live, I guess.
Yeah, so I think I looked over, and the first real shocker was when because they were selling shirts at the Fox, and one of them said, what's the phrase?
Hasadika Ibawai.
Yeah, Hasadik Ibawai. And
Yeah.
she's like, I wonder what that means. And I'm like, you'll see. And then it got there, and, you know, they're like, fuck you, God, and the ass mouth and cunt.
Yeah.
And I think she was a little put off by that.
That was honestly one of the few things that managed to shock me in my little Christian Puritan heart long after I had come to actively resent like the values I was taught, you know?
Yeah.
I was still like, Jesus, it's the most extreme anti-Judeo-Christian God, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, sentiment I've ever heard in my life.
Quick sidebar. Debbie says, Control M will let you mirror your strokes on an axis.
Oh,
But,
cool.
Yeah. I think I was cracking up during the Ugandan tribes, like, play reenactment of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah. Because you've seen the King and I.
Huh?
It's a King and I reference, that's all I said. Because we've seen the King and I. I assumed it wasn't the reason.
But yeah, just like the song reprisals are really fun, and the little jokes are like,
You mean the Mormon
Joseph
prophet
Smith and his Magic Aids frog.
It's a statement, you know. You have to agree, if nothing else. The South Park team have always been willing to make their feelings known.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got some mixed feelings, obviously. They've made a lot of shots, so obviously there's some hits and misses over the years.
Yeah, I would say nowadays it certainly seems like they walk a line. They kind of fall into that camp of, you know, nobody's safe.
Yeah, well, that's always been their thing, and so that makes sense.
But I think that has a different cultural context these days.
It definitely does. They are. I don't think they're any different politically than they've ever been. They just are not. I think ultimately, if our Republican Party was sane, probably would be called Republicans. It's just like they don't think anybody's going to raise from the dead to release Trump from jail or anything crazy like that, you know. So they're libertarians or whatever.
Yeah, they're centrist, but they're centrist in a place that's very right of center.
Yeah, exactly. They are, you know, before the internet caught up with the colonial government system we have, they were Democrats, you know. But now that like the Democrats have to address life issues of people that Matt don't care as much about, they drift further and further right. I mean, I suppose that's the way everyone is, and that's what dark humor is really meant to represent, right? Like that people do these things and feel these ways, but people just use it as an excuse to be shitty in the way they're really shitty, which doesn't make any sense at all. Comedically, I mean, obviously it makes sense because it's convenient.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I'm so glad to see my views represented on a show like this, on the big screen. Because, you know, there's
that's what the transphobia movie was about recently, you know? They just wanted to say that there was a movie saying that anybody who was born male would beat anybody who was born female at any activity forever, always.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Oh. The Daily Wire has a streaming service.
Oh, cool. Cool.
And they released the movie with limited theatrical release because it was transphobic, so it was easy to be like, to know where that would play and do limited theatrical releases there, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was a small budget right-wing film that was like, imagine, you know, the sort of raunchy buddy comedies of our youth. You know, imagine like really untalented people making.
Oh, was that the basketball one?
Yes, American Pop. Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Like that's the tone. It's people.
Yeah, something that would have flown mainstream. Honestly, in like 2007.
Not quite all of it. I mean, the concept, sure, Juwanna Mann happened, but the lesson of the movie Juwanna Mann was that he was wrong to think just because he was a man, there would be nobody who could give him any difficulty in a women's sport. That was meant to be his foolish arrogance throughout the film that he learned to overcome. Like, and it's not a progressive film at all, you know what I mean? But like, they knew that somebody has to be likable. So the movie's about a fucking guy who used to be a good children's coach, and now he's an unsuccessful one. He and his loser buddies dress up as women to get some easy wins on the Wams. And then one of them is trans, which was a surprising turn. And then the guy, so he's like, "Why? You know, how do you know I'm not a woman?" And the main character punches him in the nuts. And that's like the end of the film. That's like the thesis statement, I think. It's just that we should punch.
That's how they end the film?
No, it's not quite the end. There's a bunch of celebration after they. Okay, the real climax.
They punch him in the nuts and have a party about it.
Okay, yeah, you know, he doesn't matter. He's a side character. The main character is the loser coach. He's not trans. One of the players is trans. It was just so that they could pitch being cruel to someone, like when you do a drive-by, you'll always be a man comment. They want to pitch that as virtuous behavior, is the point of that scene. So he's disabusing this poor loser of the idea that he could get out of failing his manhood by being a woman or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's quite deeply bad, actually. It is what you would expect, but it's like pointed. You know, the reason people are afraid of trans people now is because they stopped being a joke. You know, I mean, I guess, but you know, it's a process, and like, I mean, for me, and I think that's what it is. Like there was a banality to the mockery where it was just this person was born with a certain set of genitalia, and they are wearing clothes that clash with your understanding of that, and they saw that as harmless fun without worrying about implication, because it was a small enough minority whose rights weren't even being considered at all, and so it was fine. There had been trans people and things forever, but it was fine because it was a joke.
Yeah.
And this isn't that. The movie is it is very directly hateful, despite being just a bad sort of rip-off of an old style of early 2000s comedy. It's also mean, and just setting up dunks we're definitely homeschooling our
Well, it's a
kids
basketball
with
movie.
Basketball players. They spend far too little time setting up dunks, actually, because it is not solely a basketball film. They do, in fact, join all sports, and it's the Women's Olympics that they're playing basketball in at the end. And if you think the transphobia was bad about the film, the actual finale of this film is that the other team that makes it to the finals is also men pretending to be women, but these ones are black.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so they're like, we're gonna lose. I know.
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Let me get my daughter's basketball team to face them, so they'll feel embarrassed to be playing women's sports, and we will take that as a win. He decides to stop trying to be a winner in a world full of losers, or whatever the fuck is essentially the narrative of the story. It's pretty revolting, and I only mention that to say it's not like you said it would fly in the sweet and the gentle Will and Grace version of it, Flip. Yeah, but this is we fucking hate these people and we're gonna beat it out of them. And it was also unimaginative in several ways. I mean, I could talk about it forever. I never saw it, but I'm plugged in, man. I know what's going on.
You're on TikTok.
I think I hear about that kind of stuff from YouTube mostly, because I like to have at least 4-5 things going on at once.
I get that.
I'll usually have a video essay.
Can't watch a movie at home anymore. So I found relaxing in my own space has been very difficult.
That's something you got to work on, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's just a cruise interest. That doesn't go away.
Yeah, because, I mean, the way it was described to me by a good friend is that, and it wasn't in relation to this, but it was in relation to my art and working, and if you form a negative relationship with something, you'll kind of put it off, but the more you force yourself to do it, the more it feels like work, the more negative the relationship is. And so it kind of falls into that category. I can't just sit here and watch a movie now. I have to be at least mildly productive, right?
Guess who? I know who did that one.
Who did what one?
It's capitalism.
Oops.
Oops, all capitalism. No, I mean, it's not just capitalism exactly, but it is. It's the culture, but the culture is a capitalist culture. Even with the attention economy of the internet and stuff, that's just a replication of capitalism for the future.
Yes.
And so people, I'd love for a computer to care what I want to see, because none of them do. They care what I will look at longest. The only good thing about that is that I don't get a lot of horror wrecks, because I'm scared and I get away quick.
Run away from the wrecks.
I don't want a horror thing popping up at me if I didn't sign up for it. Fucking ads on YouTube, half of them are for shitty horror movies now. And it's if you're watching anything that somebody who wants to see The Nun, The Covenant might have watched, then you're fucked, buddy. Don't put that on to go to sleep.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about movies like that. Big old jump scare blockbusters. That you're going to watch a lot of the stuff that people who like that have watched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're broad appeal. And honestly, I mean, I like horror a lot as a vibe and aesthetic and low key thing. And even I am less engaged by something if I know for a fact there will not be jump scares. I never ask because I'm asleep at my post if somebody tells me there's no jump scares. Like I just don't engage with a game because I don't feel like I'm threatened. I think it's one of the few ways in which a video game, for example, is a rare medium because scariness is the only thing a video game has that hurts the player. And
that hurts the player, or
that hurts the player, that affects you. That they
oh,
can make your
I see what you're
character
saying.
take damage or slow your character down, but the only way they can do something to you is make you scared, like, you know, jolt you or something like that. And so I do think it has a place. I'm one to defend jump scares' existence because I expect there to be some, if you're going to call it horror, to some degree.
Yeah, and video games, I'd say it's necessary because it's playing on the fact that you have the ability to react in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Typically,
yeah, like that's you, baby. That's you you're getting that with.
In movies, though, I see why it's seen as like a blocky tactic.
Mm-hmm. I see. I mean, it's just, I think only when used poorly. I feel like the elimination of the jump scare would be a true tragedy.
I mean, my favorite horror movie, well, no, my second favorite horror movie, Hereditary, did not do jump scares at all. It just played off of cinematography and just this it just steeps you in this tense, uncomfortable feeling.
Right. And that's sort of true of something like Silent Hill 2 as well. But it did do jump scares, and I think if it was labeled a big no jump scares, you would have less fun in those moments of tension, because what is that tension about is part of the big question, and you, the viewer, are in danger because you'll get scared. And so I do think that's important, but I think maybe it's possible we don't agree on what jump scares are either, because like there are jump scares that aren't meant to be the climax, for example. No slasher movie could do without a goofy warm-up jump scare, you know?
Oh, it was a coat in the closet.
Yeah, or, I mean, usually it's some dickhead scaring you on purpose.
Oh yeah, because we're all kids at camp.
Yeah, or whatever we are.
Bunch of 28 kids-year-old kids at camp.
28 kids-year-old? That's a big trench coat, my man.
Yeah, I'm 28 kids-year-old. I'm like 280 or some such.
We don't like to do that, man. That's the kind of math we don't do.
You don't do kids math?
Don't do... No, I don't do adults math. Which is quite a coincidence. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh, I mean... Yeah, it's... I don't know. I think it's important to break the tension. Like, what's the tension for if nothing spooky happens? And like, does it need to be in your face to be a jump scare, in your opinion?
No. I think it was just... I think the biggest issue I have with jump scares is the, kind of the blockbuster version where it's always accompanied by the blah Hollywood sound.
You don't like the noise in a jump scare.
Well, I don't. I think that certainly demerits it. It's not just the noise I don't like. It's music swell into blah, into even if it's actual monster coming at you from a sudden camera shift. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I mean, does it not scare you?
Typically no.
Typically, no. Okay, see, this may be a huge difference in you and me, but it's something to consider. In that, I am sure I'm not alone in it. They scare the shit out of me. Like, I don't like them. I don't enjoy them. But they factor into my consideration of the moment. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think even not knowing there won't be a, you know, though I do agree that if you just do a Hell's Kitchen reality show sting loudly enough to make somebody jolt in their seat, that isn't necessarily, you know, Chopin. It is like cheap, but people like cheap.
Yeah. But I like actual cheap. I mean, that's what I love about a lot of horror movies, that, like, the most notable ones had a nothing budget.
Well, I don't mean cheap money-wise, actually. I mean,
okay.
like, lowest common denominator, of course it's gonna work stuff. Like, people like that. That's why, and I don't mean I'm not psychoanalyzing you or criticizing you when I say it, it's why you have a reaction of like, ugh, this? Come on. You know? Because so many people are like, this!
Hipster media attitude. I will not deny that.
I don't even mean you, though. Like, it's a thing that happens. And, just like, I don't know. I feel I engage better with horror because of jump scares, but I also found it quite petrifying, and people said it was not scary at all. So, I don't know.
There were moments of it, like, I will... If a horror movie lingers with me, that's when I'm like, okay, I get it.
Like you got a Red Bull in your cup.
Like what?
You go, okay. You drop an okay. Like you got a Red Bull in your cup.
I did not like the It movies, the new ones.
I meant the new ones. I haven't seen the...
Yeah. There were moments that did stick with me, though, like the projector scene. I thought was really cool.
That's good. People said it was like one of the scenes they thought was goofy and not scary at all. I'm like, that was genius. I think here's my thing. For horror, for me, it is a lack of rules. So I find ghosts and supernatural entities like that the most fear-inducing, personally.
Yeah, I hate in horror movies when they feel the need to over-explain everything.
Well, I just mean that, like, in slasher movies, there are sort of rules. It's a physical creature that is chasing you on this plane.
I see what you're getting at.
With a haunting, or with it, which is sort of more of a Lovecraft situation, you don't know what's going to happen, you just know it's going to suck. And it could happen at any time, because there are not rules. And that's always the feeling you want to, I think, make with horror, but I feel like ghosts just do it instantly, because they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I have to hit the bathroom.
Right on. While Clown's away, I'm gonna get back to my point about Hereditary when she returns. So if you don't want Hereditary spoilers, I mean, you've had 8 years, come on. But if that's not enough, maybe close your ears. In the meantime, how you liking our Blender work? We're just blending away. Blending the night away. This is long for a Thursday stream, but...
Mamma mia. Oh, sorry, is it over?
Papa Pia. No, I was just rambling. Still there. But what I was going to say, in regards to like jump scares versus Hereditary's like tenseness, there aren't really jump scares in that movie, but there's just a moment that's just, there are these really visceral moments that just lean into the tension so hard. So I don't think it needs just a sudden cork pop to pay off. Like,
no,
it
well,
can be...
Hereditary is A24, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that it might be a sophisticated type of horror film, and I think at some point you just kind of have to accept. And again, this isn't like a shot at you; it's just airing my feelings. That some things aren't for you, but I guess it does suck when those things that aren't for you show up in things that are. And I guess for people who are afraid of jump scares and really want to see every horror movie and don't feel like navigating that does really suck. But I don't know. I have complicated feelings on it, and I think, like I said, I think it would be a great loss, even the Five Nights at Freddy's version, to lose the jump scare in horror.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole payoff of that game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's actually what it. I really think the first Five Nights at Freddy's is like a genius, and I don't.
Oh yeah.
Hate the others nearly as much as a lot of people do, but they were too scary for me. I played a little of PT, for example, and I respect the shit out of PT because I can't play it. I find it too viscerally unsettling and terrifying. Oh
yeah, and I mean PT does have a few jump scares, but it's never the gotcha moment. It's never like a punchline, I guess, in a big fear joke.
I mean, I don't think that never is really the case. If you do certain actions, you are guaranteed to get a noisy, sudden, unprompted jump scare. One of them is just standing still long enough. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. PT does everything Five Nights at Freddy's did right, and does it righter, because it's a more sophisticated little demo game. You don't know what the rules are, and as you start to figure them out, the rules that you are trying to construct in your head become monsters in and of themselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
so that's
you can never show anything on screen scarier than what you're going to imagine in your head.
Yeah, and I think for some people the scare is the monster. But I do think PT uses jump scares, and it uses them extremely artfully. But they are the straight up, hey, here's a dead woman's face screaming in your face while she grabs you and shakes you.
I gotcha. I can't say I've seen every potential ending of PT.
Oh, it's not even an ending. You stand still, you die, you wake up. Like when you do. Is that considered an ending when you're? That'd probably be more of an errant thing, a Travis thing. I mean, wait a second. Still, I don't know.
Neither do I. And I mean, like, in PT, are there really ever any endings? Say for the one?
I don't know. I mean, I think you can leave. I'm not positive, though.
I know there's, the one ending, because it's a playable teaser.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have the moment in which it actually teases the game.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
The Norman Reedus of it all.
I think Norman is a great replacement for David Hayter. Rest in peace, David Hayter. I don't know
Not
why.
Dead, is he?
No. I don't know why Kojima never liked him much, but he got rid of him immediately, first chance he did.
Oh, I didn't know it was Kojima that got rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Kojima was just star fucking with that move.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes, he was, but also, they don't, Hater has said, they just don't call me about Snake. Yeah, like they're past me as Snake. And
That's a bummer.
Reedus has that same intonation as the character Snake, just when he's not being jovial. You know, it's not the same, but it's a very like, what do you want from me, man?
Really?
It's.
Do you think Kojima would have gotten along with the younger Clint Eastwood?
Gotten along with in what sense?
That he would have buddied up with Clint Eastwood the way he has Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen.
I don't know. Clint Eastwood was kind of mainstream.
I mean, Mads certainly had his time in the limelight, but I guess wasn't, like, blockbuster mainstream.
Like, Norman's pretty mainstream. At the time, he was huge when he was in, Death Stranding. Love that game, sorry. Great game. Great game. What was I saying? Oh, just, Reedus is good, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, huge, honestly, my PT time is like, he was already in Boondock Saints? Are you kidding me?
I still like Boondock Saints.
I do. You know how much I love that movie.
I do, yeah. I also still like it.
I say love, but like I'm able to acknowledge that I had trash taste at that time, and I probably still do.
Well,
but
there's no such
thing. More accepting of the fact that I love trash.
Like, ultimately, trash. Like, sure, there are objective, artistic faux pas, but I think to make them, even incidentally, in ways that end up working out, sort of works against the argument that there can be objective quality to art.
Though I think continuity is a big one for me, and that movie failed to do that when the sequel came out. But I guess it didn't matter because that's not what people went to that movie for.
I thought it was pretty bad. I did not care for that film.
The sequel?
The sequel, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was far more slapstick. It was like a sequel to The Room, where Tommy Wiseau thought he was being funny the first time. Like, it's not that exactly Boondock Saints was a joke or anything, but like,
oh yeah, they leaned into humor, and the jokes rarely landed.
It's because they didn't understand humor. What was funny about the original film had nothing to do with the writing, really. It was about, it had nothing to do with the jokes in the writing, I should say. It was about the fact that these characters were acting with a human, recognizable truth while doing something that most people never do. There's a movie about some guys who want to blow themselves up. That's got lions in the name. I don't remember, but it's like a buddy comedy about how they want to, do a sacrifice for their cause, and it's a similar sort of thing.
Is that a real movie?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. It has lions in the name, I think.
The only reason you say that movie premise, and I can only think back to a game of Balderdash that we played.
Well,
where that was one of the suggested prompts.
Well, every round of Balderdash has a right answer.
Yes, but that was definitely not the right answer. Because I don't think Balderdash would have included a movie about suicide bombers.
Four Lions is a 2010 British black comedy satire directed by Chris Morris from a screenplay by Morris, Sam Bain, and Jesse Armstrong. Jesse Armstrong, the guy who wrote...
you said it's 2010, though?
Yeah, 2010. Succession.
That would have been after we played these rounds of Balderdash. Because it was in high school.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Four Lions. Look it up on Wikipedia. I've seen the trailers for
This
it.
is blowing my gourd.
I've always known this is a film. I've thought about watching it, but it's gonna be dark.
Ah, she's a fun little romp.
In the film, a group of dim-witted homegrown terrorists attempts to plan an attack in Britain.
Oh. Life imitates art, imitates life. And with that, thank y'all for coming out this Thursday night. Thank you, Cloud, for being here.
What about
I really
my
like
art?
what you got going on. You're making a real Raggedy Ann.
Yeah, I'm gonna hollow it out too as practice when I'm satisfied with a rough
Oh, that'll be dope.
on the hair. You know, like in here, because this is gonna be the ring, which will be smoothed out and squared.
Hmm.
Because that will also be useful for rigging if I want to use it.
Good for rigging and modeling for 3D prints.
Yes, I am RDM, so.
Oh, that'll be so cool.
Yeah, here comes some tentacles. Uh-oh, I made them. Coming out of the ocean. Goodbye, stream. Get out of our
Goodbye.
private conversation. I don't know why you're still
Happy
here.
trails.
You were not invited to this.